Welcome to the Finance Geeks, a podcast about real financial planning. Join us as we get into the nitty-gritty, discussing everything from pensions to portfolios. If you're into numbers, strategies, and running a successful practice, this is your ultimate geeky hangout.
Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of the Finance Geeks podcast. Thank you for joining us. My name is Warren Shute. I'm here joined by
Paul Cleworth.
And today we're talking about understanding retirement and the strategies that we, Paul and I, use in our practice. But before we dive into that, Paul, what have you been up to?
I've been doing bench press this morning, Warren, in the gym.
Nice.
Yes. I started off with the bar, obviously, just to get the movement. 40, 50, 60, 70, all the way up to 100 for 2. Back down to 60 for 20. Then dumbbell presses, then push-ups, yeah.
Boom. You must have a good pair of pecs on you right now.
Well, they were man boobs, but now they're looking more like pecs. I'm just trying to make sure I don't hurt myself, getting good technique, and I thought, right, I'll get the telly on in the background and I'll do some bench press today. Went to watch Jimmy Carr last weekend. I know you've seen it. Oh, go on.
Hang on, pause. Put the telly on in the background.
Yes, I was listening to / watching John Wick 4, in the background. I thought I'll have it on in the TV. Yeah, because rather than music on, hardcore disc house music, I thought I'll get a film that I like on, an action movie, and in between sets I can watch it, and then you psych yourself up, get some chalk on your hands, go for another set. Fantastic,
brilliant, love it. Sorry, I jumped in. Go on, you said.
All right, I went to watch Jimmy Carr. I know you went to watch him not so long ago. So he was in Stevenage. It's quite dark humour, isn't he? He's quite controversial, but he's and some of the jokes I was laughing at them and I was thinking, that's not funny. This guy should be locked up.
I know. I agree.
But how does he get away with that? I've been watching lots of Yellowstone on Netflix with my lovely wife.
I fancy that. I do.
Yeah,
like that.
It's Kevin Costner and Kelly Riley and Luke Grimes and then I've been getting my eyes checked. I went to Specsavers and the manager at Specsavers, must have seen me come in with some binoculars because I sort of sat down to get one pair of glasses and I ended up buying 7 pairs. A pair for. Well, I've got to throw. I did. I've got to go and pick them up. In fact, and she's going to deliver them to that. They're going to be posted to me. But I've got wonky eyes, so I had to get a couple of pairs for reading. I got intermediate glasses, which are computer glasses. I got distance glasses and sunglasses, all with my new prescription.
And you got your Meta glasses for your birthday.
Those Meta glasses are fantastic because I can listen to music while talking to you, so I don't actually have to listen back.
And did you know, I don't know if you've got the upgrade yet, but the latest upgrade is going to do live translation.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so it's out in America.
With the existing pairs, you can just update the firmware or something.
I understand you can. That's what they told me in the store in France, yeah. So,
I
was very tempted by them, but it wasn't out, so I didn't. But if it was out, I think I'd have bought them.
Yeah. Alison got them for my birthday in September, as you know, because
I was there.
To South
I was
Africa.
with you. I woke up with you on your birthday.
Yeah. Not in the same room, thankfully. Warren, what have you been up to? What have you been up to?
1 month down into 75 hard. So the office
and you've
started.
Quit.
No, I haven't quit. Going strong. I was out this morning. So today was leg day. So I've got an upper body, lower body split. Today was leg day. So I've done my 45 minutes in the gym. And then when I did a 45-minute walk with Monty. So I've done my workouts for today. I like to get them in nice and early.
How is a walk a workout?
Yeah, good power walk, 45 minutes, good speed walk.
That's not a workout. That's a walk.
No, but I can't run for 45. Well, I don't want to run for 45 minutes. I suppose I could go on a bike for 45 minutes outside, but it's a bit cold. And I can't do my morning video on LinkedIn. So if you follow me on LinkedIn.
75 soft, not 75 hard.
Let's say 75 squidgy. You got it. I was in Paris last week. Bella, my daughter, was 18, so she wanted to wake up in Paris for her birthday. That was amazing. I had it sounds really rude to say this, but I had fairly low expectations of the experience. So I was just going because it's my daughter, wanted to celebrate with her. But everything from the food, the drink, the hotel, the people.
You get good weather?
It was okay. It was nicer than it was here, but it wasn't great weather. It was dry.
You did the touristy thing, did you? You went Eiffel Tower and
Eiffel Tower was probably the highlight because we had a meal overlooking the Eiffel Tower, so we saw it. The restaurant was okay, it wasn't great, but the Eiffel Tower was amazing. And then we walked to it just to take photos. And I said, we can go in a bit closer. So we went through security and go in a bit closer. And then I saw there was trips going up to the top. I'm like, let's do it. So it was like, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and we just did it spontaneously. I think we enjoyed it that much more because it was spontaneous. And went right up to the top, walk around. God, it was windy at the top on the one side, and you had to go around to get shelter. But yeah, really,
creating memories. That's what I like. Creating memories.
And then, so you'll all know, because you listen to this every week, listeners, I do 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off. Those 2 weeks off are not always back to back. So I had last week off. I'm in the office this week, and I'm off next week for half term. So off to Barcelona to play some golf. So that is going to be warmer. So I can't wait. Yeah. So
that's going to be good. Totally jealous of that.
Get a bit of sunshine. Hey, I think the listeners really want to know about our main focal point today: understanding retirement strategies and how we achieve financial freedom for our clients. And as always, Paul, you've come impeccably prepared for this, and you're going to grill me on what we do with our clients. But hey, what do we do? How do you want to fire off?
So I want to explain the word retirement or look at what it means, because it's a word that we don't like to use at Tandem. I don't like to talk about to utilize it. I think it's got negative connotations. I've sort of said this before in previous podcasts. So we prefer talking about achieving financial independence.
Okay. Like
and at the end of this, we're going to talk about the strategies we use to achieve financial freedom. Financial independence, very similar. For me, it's having enough income coming in to decide whether to work or not. But I've looked at other words and phrases that can be used instead of retirement. So I'm going to tell you some of them, see what you think. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So later life, post-career phase.
I don't like that.
Golden years.
Bit old.
Encore years. New chapter.
New chapter, I like that, yeah.
The next adventure.
Yes.
The second act or the third act. I mean, whichever act you want. The next phase, the reinvention stage. I like that. And then when you're talking about work or purpose-oriented alternatives to retirement, it's a career transition or an encore career. Yeah, your passion years. Because if you've just fallen into a job that you've been working in for 20, 30 years, whether you've changed or whatever, but it's hardcore, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, you don't have to stop work.
Yeah.
Instead, you could do something else. It might pay less income, but you're downshifting. I quite like that. Living life on your terms. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tricky, isn't it? There's so many, what I refer to as almost like gimmicky phrases to catch interest and intrigue and stuff with clients. I think, we refer to chapters of your life. So I guess that's equally as gimmicky. But, the first chapter being your working career and your second chapter being the second period of financial independence or retirement. Yeah, I use the word retirement. I've got to say, I know people say don't use the word retirement, this, that, and the other, but we use chapters and then we use retirement. I often ask them what retirement is. Does that make sense
to them?
Yeah, what is, because I think for people when they look at financial independence or retirement, whichever language you want to use, in my mind, it's either a number, so how much money do I need to have, and then I'm able to do it, or an age. When I get to this age, 60, 65, 70, whatever it might be, then I'll decide to retire. So I spend a bit more time around that area. But I like chapters and I like second.
I like the term ikigai, the Japanese term ikigai, which is it means reason for living, essentially, like the French raison d'etre. And I also like the Japanese term second life, which in Japanese is daini no jinsai.
Oh, Joe, if we got any, you nailed that. If we've got any Japanese listeners, they're just going to be homing in on you.
I'm sure, but it's they don't use the word retirement in Japan apparently, and they do use this word daini no jinsai, and it's to do with second life. And the way that we look at it in the West, if you like, is very different. So a lot of people, I think about slowing down in retirement, and perhaps haven't fully prepared for what's going to happen after they have enough money, after they get to this point in their life where they say, right, I no longer want to work or have to work. But there's a sort of cultural perspective on aging in Japan, and it's traditionally seen as a time for sort of wisdom and reflection and a contribution. It's not just about relaxing. So they think of it as the best years are ahead of you. Sure. And I like that. Yeah. I much prefer this idea of looking forward to it, to do something else. The Japanese use this other word called shukatsu, which means preparing for the next stage of life.
Sounds like katsu. Yeah, Wagamon fans out there. I'm just saying, it's just like...
Yeah, but some of them take on mentorship roles, volunteer roles, start small businesses and just do something else. But listen, we should take note because they've got much higher life expectancies in Japan. People are less obese. They generally are healthier in terms of their diet. They often, as I say, they do live longer. And in Okinawa, which is south of Japan, there's people at over 100 or 110
Yeah.
centennials and super centennials. Well, I'd rather look forward to those lives and have a purpose and enjoy myself rather than get to 65 and be burnt out
Yeah.
and only have 10 years left, wouldn't you?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, no, definitely. And it's like you said, I think it's like retiring to something rather than retiring away from something. What's make, I think Dan Sullivan says, make your future bigger than your past. And I've always been a fan of this, and I'm not going to use the words. But I talked to my dad about, okay, what's the next thing? What are you looking forward to? So you've got things to look forward to. I think when we look forward to things, we have a bit more of an oomph in ourselves. So I enjoy booking holidays and things way in advance so we can look forward to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Retirement isn't an end goal.
No.
It's a transition into a new phase of life, as we said. So, you need a well-structured financial plan that's going to support that flexibility, that security, and all the new opportunities that come at this stage of life. So, it's very much about getting that balance right and having a sort of, as well as financial stability, a sort of some purpose-driven activities.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to have a reason to get up in the morning. And it's a huge subject and a topic that we need to discuss. That all financial planners need to discuss more with their clients about how to transition from working to not working.
We also talk to our clients about not racing to get away from work, not trying to hurry away from work, and trying to transition your employment or your career through your retirement years. So, like you're saying, you might not want to carry on at 70 hours a week full time into your 60s, but then rather than just stopping dead, reducing your hours, reducing your days, reducing your weeks, and then transition into retirement through, like you've just said, the Japanese, maybe even voluntary type work and things like that. So you're still keeping active. So there's something for you to look forward to. We also talk about routine. Love it or not, we are creatures of habit, and it's our habits that make us and our habits that break us. We've got something to look forward to getting up in the morning. And dozens and dozens and dozens of my clients have said to me, Warren, when I went into retirement, one of the best bits of advice you gave me, I giggle because I think, oh God, was it that good? Is having some kind of structure or routine to my week. Saying to me, okay, get up this time in the morning, go and do this, that sort of thing.
Staying busy.
Well, we've been in a routine for, say, 40 years of our life, right? We finish education, we go into employment, we have to be there at a certain time, we finish at a time, then we do stuff at the weekends. It doesn't have to be that rigid, but just to know that you're going to be at bowls on this sort of day, you're going to play golf on this day, you're going to go to the social club, whatever, this sort of day. You've got some kind of activity, some routine in there.
Absolutely. You know the author Robert Kiyosaki?
Best friends, yeah.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And one of his quotes is, "Financial freedom is available to those who learn about it and work for it."
Yeah.
What we do a lot of the time, what we do constantly, is help our clients plan, and we help them build their wealth.
Yeah.
And I think that there's this idea that an advisor might only do that, only help you build the pot of money. And there's not enough discussions, I don't think, about spending the money and accumulating and enjoying it and giving yourself permission to enjoy your money, later on.
If you're a financial planner listening to this, I can hand on my heart say 30 years this year in the business, and I probably love it more today than I ever have. And I think the reason for that is because we are congruent and we encourage our clients to enjoy their money. Now, intellectually, you might think that's counterproductive because we earn our income generally from the assets that we manage. But I promise you, if you are sincere and congruent and you get your clients to enjoy your money, it comes back tenfold because those clients become raving fans. They tell everyone. This week, so what does it say? Thursday, say this week we had 3 over £1 million referrals come into us of new clients. Now, that's unusual for us to get so many in 1 week. And it's generally from just doing the right thing. Makes you feel good, clients feel good. It's just, life's good.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, if you want some help with those, just put them my way. If they want to get a slightly better advisor,
of course,
I'm happy to give them a shout.
Of course. Yeah, I was thinking that. I was going to give me off the show.
Very good. Hey, we should talk about the strategies that we
Mm-hmm.
use. Let me suggest that you kick off. What I want you to explain to us and to our listeners is what you do specifically at Lexington to help a client understand their retirement and start drawing income from their pot.
Okay.
so that they can achieve financial freedom. So what do you do?
Okay, so I would split those into two. I'd say understanding their retirement is one, and then how we're going to cost it or fund it is a second one. So if I talk about
Okay.
understanding your retirement first, it's just through conversation. I do a what I call as a Dickens process. You've seen the film Dickens, right? When he wakes up,
Yeah.
Christmas Carol, he does all the good past, present, and that sort of thing. We sort of go forward and just say, hey, look, what does a good retirement look like for you? Talk me through what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail. What's your outcome behind going into retirement? What is it you want to accomplish? And
Right.
trying to get them to articulate what good looks like, and then also trying to get them to make a bucket list, a dream list of things that they want to do, because before they retire, you sometimes can struggle for things to do. Whereas if you've made a list or made a plan beforehand, you can then enact that plan and move it out. So very much a conversation, talking them through retirement years, asking them what good looks like, and preparing. Yeah, I think it's very much pushing them to sort of say, hey, look, precious time's running out. We talk about that a lot. Precious time running out. We also talk about sort of age 75 as being a pivotal age where activity tends to slow. So if they're retiring at 65, they've got 10 summers, 10 summers, 10 Christmases. How are you going to spend these before perhaps at 75 is going to be less active? And then that's all about the activity side of things. Then we spend quite a bit of time about their health. And then talking about, look, I can make sure that your finances are secure and we can do all that kind of thing. But tell me, you're in charge of your physical health and your mental well-being. You've got to take control of that. So we talked about having medicals and making sure they're having checkups and stuff. And then also having social activities, make sure they're going to meet other people. And there's a social network there for them, keeping them mentally fresh.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talked about uh, that age 65 to 75, and there's two things that came to mind when you mentioned it. One, it was this realization when you said 10 Christmases, and 10 summers between 65 and 75, and time is finite, and what are you going to do? And it puts it into perspective, thinking, wow, that's not a lot of time.
No.
So the second thing I thought of is, well, can you do it earlier?
Yeah.
So there is a wrong perception that one has to retire at 65 or 67 when their state pension might kick in, for example, or it's certainly above 60. But there's you've heard of the fire movement, financial independence, retire early. There is a movement going around, and I believe this absolutely. If you are in a position where you can achieve financial independence in your 50s, that's excellent. Or even in your 40s, you've got to have a pretty big pot of money. You've got to have some form of passive income or other income generation. And it doesn't mean to retire. It just means you've got this amount of money coming in, so you can decide, what am I going to do, to with the rest of my life. But if life is for living and you want to experience all these things while you're well and healthy, it makes sense, if you can, to do it earlier. Albeit, if you are putting a lot of money into your pension, you can't access that till 55, and of course that's going to 57. So you'd have to be drawing it from other sources, wouldn't you? Like ISAs, GIA, rental income, cash.
But the favorite time for me to catch a client is pre-retirement, because I can get them in a habit of enjoying their money. When you've got a salary coming in, you're being paid a wage, you feel more confident to enjoy and spend and have these holidays and trips and such like. Once you're then reliant on capital, sometimes you can feel vulnerable and you don't want to overspend or run out of money. So we try and get clients to live life now, as opposed to waiting for a certain point in the future. So if they're thinking about doing a cruise, or thinking about doing a safari or the Rockies or something like that, why not now? Why not we plan that now and you do it next year? You've got the money coming in, rather than saying, okay, well, that's something I'm going to do when I retire, when I get to 70.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I've got, in true typical Paul Cleworth fashion, five particular points here just to mention with regards to the sources of income in retirement, because there's a perception that pension and retirement goes together, and that it's only pension income. And you and I know there's different forms of pension income, whether it's flexi access drawdown, or from a defined contribution pension, or annuity, or a defined benefit pension, or state pension. But as well as pensions, there are generation of income from capital, so dividend income and withdrawals of capital from your GIA, ISA, and bond. Thirdly, there's property income, whether you've got buy-to-lets or rental income. Fourthly, there's business and professional income. So you might be getting royalties, you might be a non-exec director, you might retain an interest in a business. And then fifthly, you can actually have things like royalties or franchise ownership or some sort of side hustles where you're getting another form of income from maybe consulting or whatever. But you see, if you broaden your mind to think, well, there are all these streams of income, you've got to decide, well, which one, where's your income going to come from?
Yeah.
And as long as it's a regular, reliable form of income, it gives you that choice and that freedom, doesn't it?
Let me dive in on two of those because I agree with all of them. But you saw about the capital income. We're very much financial planners. We look at the cash flow overall, and we're really trying to encourage clients to enjoy their capital. So if you've got a chart on the screen that shows the money that's available to you, so it's not your net worth, but it's your investable money, and you can see that chart increasing over time, I'll quite clearly say to clients, this is not a good cash flow. Your available money is increasing. I don't want you to have more money at the end. I want you to go down and start reducing. So that means you've enjoyed it. It's lost opportunities. So
this is where the mindset comes in: the planning, the projecting. The discussion on the withdrawal strategy and the percentage withdrawal. And I think what goes hand in hand with all of that, and talking about the mindset is part of the strategy of what I would discuss in the order. We would get clients to pay off debt. Arguably before they achieve financial independence. I think it makes sense. They would top up cash, and then we'd factor in things like their age, their health, their requirement for capital, what other forms of income that they've got. You agree their expenditure with them, how much is enough. And then importantly, as well as agreeing their risk profile, you've got to discuss with them the timescales between when other forms of income like state pensions, defined benefit will kick in, whether they were going to downsize the house. Massive consideration. If a client's going to downsize from a £1.5 million house to 500,000, and they plan to do that, that's going to generate a lot of income in the future. They might be getting an inheritance. They might move abroad. So there's all of this discussion to have before you create the actual strategy of withdrawal, isn't there?
Yeah, there's two things I'll cover. There's two things I want to cover. One is the expenditure you mentioned, and one I'm going to go back to when you mentioned property as a form of income. But the expenditure side of things, I think it's reasonable if you're a professional advisor to challenge your client's expenditure. It's not their expenditure. They're just giving you an assumption of what they think it's going to be. You're the professional in the seat. You really need to sort of challenge it and say, are you really spending £2,000 a year on holidays? Is this really realistic? Explain to me, how does this come up? Let's cost it. And you might be able to dig deeper and say, well, look, you're planning a trip to Australia. You're flying economy. Why? Someone's going to spend this money. Why not be you? I'm not going to say what I normally say because I'll repeat myself. You have to listen to previous episodes for that. But, it's like, feel free to challenge their expenditure, both if it's on the higher side and question it. Can this be bought cheaper or for less money? But also when it's on the lower side to make sure that they're given permission to spend their money. I think sometimes the more successful somebody becomes, the less they're challenged. And I think that's a fault. I think it's...
No, that's really good. Really good point. Really good point. When you can work out your cash flow now, it's relatively easy to work out your cash flow. When I talk about cash flow, I mean, what's coming in, net, after tax, and what's going out. And to work out what's going out now, you look at your standing orders, your direct debits, you look through 6 to 12 months of bank statements, credit card statements. You can create a graph, a table and a chart and an Excel document as to what you're actually spending now. But what a lot of people don't do is they don't say, well, when I get to this point in the future, whether it's 55, 60, 65, what will it look like then? The mortgage is finished. I'm no longer contributing to ISAs, pensions. The kids have finished school, and I remember today I've got a meeting this afternoon with clients and it shows their cash flow. And I'm highlighting certain areas on the cash flow document saying, yeah, that's wrong. That's going to change. Are you sure that's right?
Yeah.
This client has put down that they're spending £2,000 a month on property insurance. Yeah. Now, it's more likely to be £2,000 per annum, in all honesty. But if it's £2,000 a month, there's something seriously wrong. It doesn't. What are they insuring? An 11th century castle. I mean, that's incredibly expensive. So you're right. You challenge the expenditure and you agree how much is enough and what does it look like. And as you said, encourage them to top up things like holiday costs and R&R.
And I think you as a planner have got to have a strategy to deliver this advice. So you would have some standard assumptions that are consistent across many of your clients, and they are there for you to discuss with your client, not to just include, but for discuss. So as an example, we would say the client would change their car every 5 years until age 75, then keep their last car for 10 years and then stop driving at 85. But when they start driving at 85, we have to include some form of transport. So we include taxis. So we include £400 a month for taxis. We also say that come 75, they're less likely to be fit and active enough to do all their garden decorating. So we use a cost in there for help around the house. So there's some sort of support. So you've got to have these additional costs built in the plan so that it's robust and you're thinking about things, you're adding value to the client that they're not necessarily thinking about. But just come back to your property thing as well. One thing that we try and encourage our clients to do is to simplify their life as they go into retirement. Now, I'm not a huge buy-to-let property investor fan, but certainly as you go into retirement years, there's a really good argument to start exiting from buy-to-let or investment properties. The main one for me is the number of years it's going to take you to spend the capital. You know, if we realize the capital, get the cash in the bank, we can spend income and capital and enjoy that, whether it's gifting it or actually spending it ourselves. So,
and it's illiquid and tax inefficient, and it
100%.
takes 7 years to gift it away if they want to do that. So, having a plan to sell buy-to-let portfolios, you know, it's not the same. It's not for everybody, but having a plan is I mean, it's something I talk to them a lot about.
Yeah.
We do find that some clients keep and want to retain, like a holiday home, for example. They want to use it themselves. They want their kids to have it in the future. They understand that there's inheritance tax implications of having it, but they spend a lot of time there. But yeah, generally owning buy-to-lets to generate a passive income, it used to be good when the rental yields were high, and now it's so tax inefficient that I agree with you. Simplicity is key. They are a pain in the neck. I sold all mine over the last sort of 5 years or so.
I think so.
So the different streams of income that people can have, understanding what those streams are and what is a reliable, guaranteed form of income or index form of income, like a defined benefit pension or a state pension, those are different, of course, to withdrawal of capital. And the tax position is different as well. So very important to understand what someone's tax position looks like when they get to this point when they're drawing monies from their various pots. And there's a perception sometimes where a client says, "Oh, I'm earning £125,000 a year, and their monthly net income is circa 6,000." And they what they're in my mind are doing is they're saying, "I need 120,000 in retirement." And I was like, "No, you don't. You don't even need 6,000 a month. Let's look at the net figure. Let's look at what you actually need, and it might be 3 or 4. It's generally 50 to 66, half to 2/3 of what their net income was to have a sustainable income and almost be, you know, have the same level of income. I mean, I've even got clients that are better off now in retirement years from a cash flow point of view than they were when working because they were saving all their money and spending it on school kids and mortgages.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that. It's for us, I guess we get a little bit, automated. So the cash flow creates it for us and you put the assumptions in there, but we also taper expenditure. We don't think people are going to spend. So we might have a level of holiday expenditure now that might jump up when they stop working for a period of 10 years. And then it might taper down at 75 and taper down again at 85. We talk about the go-go years, go slow years and no-go years. These chapters that we started the conversation with, these chapters of your retirement life, I think are really important to try and encourage the client. Nothing more sad for me than seeing a client with all this money in retirement and have not really enjoyed it themselves.
But by discussing all of those things you've mentioned, the mindset, the projections, and doing the planning and talking about what they're going to do with their money, what you're really doing is giving them reassurance that they won't run out of money, that they've got sufficient monies, and as you said, you're giving them permission to spend their money and enjoy it because you're almost like partly a life coach, a therapist as a financial planner. If you're doing your job correctly and talking about real life, not just the boring technical aspects of pensions and products, you're talking about giving people a strategy to enjoy the rest of their lives and feel good about it. It's like, here's the prescription, here's the strategy. This is what it looks like. Do you agree? And then get them to challenge you. You can challenge each other. It's a discussion. It's not a sort of a specific route and a set of actions and recommendations that can't be changed. The goalpost changed. You've got to be able to sort of pivot and alter what you're saying, especially if the client tells you perhaps they're going to get an inheritance or downsize or they've got health issues. Sometimes you only find out about those things and it affects their longevity when you know them better and when you've developed the relationship, and then they tell you in the last minute, I don't think I've got that long to live. I don't expect to live more than age 80. and that will affect what they draw from their pot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, definitely.
So in our title, Warren, we talked about the strategies to help clients achieve financial freedom. And we're talking here, aren't we, about this definition of financial freedom as well as the strategies we employ. So financial freedom for me is this freedom to choose, it's peace of mind, it's having enough savings, investments, and passive income without relying on a paycheck from work. And all it really is a sort of a tool for fulfillment, rather than a sort of source of stress or limitation. um, it's getting to a point where you can decide, with the help of an advisor, how to spend your money and how to live your best life. And I like that expression. We help our clients live their best lives.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
like
live
that.
it for them, but I can help them with the finance aspect of it.
Yeah, we would define financial freedom as being free from the worries of money. And,
Oh, I like that. Very
and that's
good.
really what we try and help our clients get financially well organized and be free from the worries of money, and to help live life by design and not default.
That's okay.
It's very much, how do you want to spend the rest of your life? And that's one of the opening questions that I ask clients in discovery meeting. It's like, tell me, how do you want to spend the rest of your life? What does it look like? Tell me. And you going back to saying we're coaches, it's helping clients. I think we're in such a privileged role, such a privileged profession, because we bridge the coaching aspect where you can listen and encourage and guide your clients to do things with actually we actually have the tools, the resources, knowledge, and skill set to help them achieve that, or at least most people achieve that. That's why I say it's the best profession in the world. Absolutely.
It is, and I feel very honoured to work with the clients that I do. Listen, the other considerations that we have to have in planning for retirement are making sure the assets, that we don't deplete them too quickly. So we agree a sustainable withdrawal rate. We have to factor in inflation, of course, to our figures, because it's probably the biggest risk that people face over time when investing and factoring in a realistic rate of inflation.
Mhm.
We have to plan their spending wisely, as you've just mentioned there, in terms of what costs they're going to incur, higher holidays perhaps, or car costs or whatever. And we have to maintain flexibility, to when we combine the different streams of income to make sure we reduce risk, for the client. So you don't want to be necessarily reliant on just one stream of income. If you are in a position when you've got various streams of income that are a bit more diversified, that can reduce that risk, that volatility. But I'm a big fan of clients having sufficient liquidity and access to capital in retirement, not just some 100% of their money in an annuity, an
Sure.
income for life, and that's it.
Right.
I like the idea of them having access to capital
Yeah,
to spend it.
yeah, no, absolutely, completely. Because I think it's total income that's important, not just the income generated. So capital, like you've said, so capital and income. And as long as the client has enough capital to cover their cash flows, so their cash outflows, then they're absolutely in a fine position. It's not just about the income generated.
Yeah, as part of the strategy as well. Before we go into Q&A, I think that I find myself hopefully adding lots of value, helping the client understand their tax position, because you get some really bizarre situations. I've got a client that I'm working with at the moment that's got a beneficiary pension, and it's £44,500 a year on an index basis, and she's in her early 50s. Now, unfortunately, her husband passed away previously, but the kids are getting independent pensions. She's working. She's going to get a future pension in it when she's 60, a defined benefit pension. So she's already a higher rate taxpayer. And when it comes to the investment, the money that she's invested, that determines whether I put it in ISAs, but then I'm limited to 20,000 a year. Do I put it in an offshore bond? Do I put it in a general account? And so when it comes to accessing the monies, I do look at, as any financial planner should, what's the client's tax code. If you're going to start drawing an income at 60, make use of your personal allowances and your dividend allowance and CGT allowance. Make use of all the allowances, especially if you know that in the mid to late 60s, other forms of income are going to kick in, and it's going to push people perhaps into a higher rate band. So, there's a big strategy to working out what's the optimal way of drawing the money from the various pots that they have.
Yeah.
And that's what they pay you for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, completely. And that's part of the planning process, isn't it? It's what we do for clients.
It is.
Cool. Anything else you want to raise before we move on to the Q&A?
Just one other thing, because I'm interested. Just that I know that there's lots of various techniques and strategies that other advisors to ourselves use. I just thought that everybody did it the same way, as in how to specifically draw monies from a portfolio of investments. And I won't go into this for too much detail, but just mentioning that if they do have a general investment account, an ISA, a pension, a bond, the way that we do it at Tandem, because I want our listeners to know, is once we've done all those other things that I mentioned about agreeing the withdrawal rate and discussing their risk profile and their expenditure and all, and reassuring them they won't run out of money, we specifically agree the date that they want the money. Do you want it on the 7th, the 17th, or the 27th of the month? That's when Transact, our platform of choice, allow them to draw the money. If it's regular, we look at the size of each of the pots. We'll then work out how much should we sell down to cash specifically to allow the client to draw money. So we don't have the system sell down each of the funds monthly. The amount of paperwork's enormous. Instead, we'll say, okay, so you've said to us you want £5,000 a month. That is £60,000 for the year, 30 grand over 6 months. So we might sell down £30,000, 6 months worth of cash into a separate pot and not touch it. And we don't charge fees on that particular pot. So we know that the client has got 6 months of income, and every 6 months we have to go back to them and agree the amount that they want. And I've been doing more 12-month sell downs. And I like that because it means that the client is protecting against short-term volatility in the market as well, because they've got specifically their own pot of capital to pay for holidays and that sort of thing. They've got cash, but they've also got this virtually guaranteed income now because we've set it for 6 or 12 months.
Yeah.
And regardless of what happens in equity markets, they've got this cash that's coming in, and they just know, like a salary, it's coming in monthly on a certain day.
Yeah, we do something very similar. We do something very similar. So we'll hold 18 months of income requirements in cash, 3.5 years in short-term bonds, and then plus any capital expenditure they're likely to take in the next 3 years. So like in your example, taking 5,000 a month, 6,000 a year, so we'll hold £90,000 in cash, 3.5 times the 60,000 in short-term bonds. But if they then want £100,000 in a year's time to give to their kids for a house or something, we'd also hold that in cash. So
yeah, absolutely. And a rule of thumb that you can use, there's lots of them. It's very specific for individuals, but you might be 10 to 15% of the invested assets. So it's not unusual if someone's got £1 million investment pot, they might have 100 to 150,000 in cash. 2 to 3 years of income. I mean, it's different for everybody.
That's a little bit rich for me, but come on, let's move on. Let's move on to Q&A. Let's move on to what do you have for us today?
So I've got 4 quotes, right? I know you like to do one, but I've got 4 good ones. You ready? And 3 of these quotes are unknown.
Okay, well I'll do the first one, okay, and then you can jump in. Retirement is not the end of the road; it is the beginning of the open highway.
Ooh,
all right.
That's good, isn't it?
Like
Driving analogy.
Yeah.
Like it.
Good.
How about this one? The goal isn't more money. The goal is living life on your terms.
I like that a lot. Who said that?
Chris Brogan is an American author and keynote speaker and consultant.
Chris Brogan.
Chris Brogan. Never heard of him before, but it's a good quote, isn't it? Next one. Retirement is when you stop living at work and start working at living. That's unknown.
I like that.
Unknown because probably Warren Shute said it,
No,
I suspect.
Probably.
It's got that wisdom. Yeah. And lastly, retirement is wonderful if you have 2 essentials, much to live on and much to live for.
Hey, good ones today, Paul. That's good ones today.
Yeah, that's unknown as well.
Right, okay.
So is that a wrap?
That's a wrap. Let's call it a day. Okay. Hey, that's a wrap for today. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe the show and let us have your feedback. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Look forward to see you then. Take care.
Take care now. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Finance Geeks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. Drop your comments and questions on YouTube, and be sure to follow us on social media. Join us next time for more insights to boost your financial planning game.